Joining me now here on the set is former Republican Senator from the great state of Oklahoma, Dr. Tom Coburn. He is the author of a new book, Smashing the D.C. Monopoly, Using Article 5 to Restore Freedom and Stop Runaway Government. Senator, great to have you here. Thank you.
Appreciate being able to be on with you.
And I believe fully, wholly, and completely in what you want to do. I'm just really skeptical that we can get it done because Washington has proven to be a beast that doesn't die very easily.
Well, under the Constitution, our founders knew we were going to be at this point. That's why Article 5 and the state's ability to have an amendments convention is in there. And once everybody, when you tell somebody that hey, we can actually fix it, you know, they're so discouraged and they're so sick of Washington. And then you say, here's a way to do it, and here's a way that'll work, and here's what our founders gave us. And all we have to have is convince 34 state legislatures that we need this amendments convention, and we can fix the financial part, we can fix the overreach and regulation part, and we can fix the careerism part.
How so? For those not familiar with Article 5, I don't want to get bogged in the process, but give us a sense of the procedure.
Article 5 says if 2/3 of the states request an amendments convention, then Congress has to call one. That's the only thing Congress has to do with it, other than if there's something that comes out of it recommended to the states, they get to decide whether the legislatures will pass it or it'll be a state convention. So they have to call a convention once we have 34 states that have agreed on the parameters of an amendments convention. And through that convention, each state sends delegates, or what's called commissioners.
Right.
Whatever they agree on comes out of that with recommendations to go to the states. And Congress, by law, there's 480 applications pending right now on different things. Once they're filed, unless the state puts a limitation on it, they're filed forever. So that if you actually achieve 34 states, then they are forced to call a convention.
What are the odds? I'm trying to think how many Republican governors we speak.
Governors don't have anything to do with this.
No, but I'm trying to think as an indication of the leaning of the states.
We control 34 state legislatures.
So the odds of this happening are actually better than you might think.
Well, actually, they're better, but this isn't a Republican deal. I mean, you ask anybody who's a hardcore lefty whether they think a bureaucrat ought to decide in Washington for them or they ought to decide, they'll say I ought to decide.
Well, everybody's going to say that. That's the thing that's the thing that's so crazy here.
Here's the other thing. If you ask a hardcore progressive, do you think we ought to live within our means and not borrow against our future? They'll say, yeah, they believe in a balanced budget. Do you believe the federal government ought to live within its means? Do you think members of Congress might ought to have to limit their terms so that they don't buy into the system that everything's a decision on a political basis rather than what's in the best interest of the country? So it's a bipartisan movement,
right?
Even though we may lean more to the right in terms of limited government and federalism, most people, when they look and consider it, say, hey, this is a way to fix our country.
It is, and you just laid out some really seriously important areas of commonality, but within that, there's the rub. Do you think we ought to live within our means? Yes. How do we do that? Well, I think we ought to tax people at 90%.
Well, that's why you use generally accepted accounting principles, and you have put a limitation on taxation with anything that would come out of there.
What would you do with entitlements?
Well, if you don't do anything, they're going to collapse.
No, I understand. I understand that.
Here's the question. I have never met a grandparent that says, I want my grandkids to suffer so Medicare won't be changed.
Well, no.
No, they won't.
No.
And it doesn't matter what their political views are. They don't want to live off their grandchildren's future. So the Congress refuses to make tough choices now, so you have to put them in a box so they have to. And that's why a balanced budget amendment by itself won't fix us.
Right.
You have to limit the scope and jurisdiction and power of the federal government and return it to where our founders thought it ought to be, which is in the state legislatures.
I admire you. I mean, I really do, and I wish you well with this, but I keep thinking it's a great place to start in terms of commonality because we don't hear that very much in the political discourse anymore.
Well, we
don't hear a whole lot of bipartisan
We have 2.8 million volunteers right now, going towards 10 million. At the end of this year, and that's going to be the grassroots force that will actually make this happen. Because, you know, I've been in 25 states in the last 2 years, and what happens is when you sit down and talk to somebody and they said, boy, I'm frustrated with Washington. I can't believe what's not happening.
Right.
How they're not addressing the real issues and the real problems in front of our country. So well, you can fix it. They said, I said, yeah, here's it. And so I take out my little pocket Constitution and say, read that right there. You mean the states can call a convention to force the federal government to do things? Yeah. You mean I can be involved? Yeah, just go lobby your state legislature to make sure they pass it. It's all it is a joint resolution. It's not a law. It's a request of Congress. And if they pass the same thing that's been passed, then that's one of the 12 we have already, or 22 more that we need.
Well, you know, before we move on to any other the other topics I want to talk to you about, tell folks who might be watching, what can they do? Where can they go, and who do they contact?
You go to conventionofstates.com and sign up. In there's a way for you to sign and send a petition to your legislator.
Okay.
You go find all the information you need to know about this, all the fear-mongering of what people say over here, and all the reasons why I can't. Most of people don't want to do this because they like elitism. They like a powerful central government. They like limited freedom. So you'll hear all the sound, frequently asked questions and the answers, and then you sign up. And then you get your neighbors to sign up. Because the way we take our country back is the citizens take it. Remember, we're of the people, by the people, for the people.
Right.
Not of the congressmen, of the senators, for the government bureaucrats, and the fourth branch of government, which is the bureaucracy.
So, this takes a commitment. It doesn't take any, for those worried about if I go there, they're going to start hitting me up for money or anything like that. This takes a passion and a commitment. It doesn't take a donation, does it?
You don't have to give a penny.
I mean, you can. I'm sure you can.
You can, and you can give money. But the point is we don't really want your money, as we want your effort to take our country back. And we're working hard to raise the money to do this. Because it takes a lot of effort and a lot of people to run a 2.8 million operation right now, growing, and to be in every state capital with a regional director. Everybody in the state is non-paid. They're all volunteers. So we have legislative liaisons, we have state directors, we have organizational teams that are out talking to other people, state fairs, gun shows, art exhibits, you name it, we've got somebody there. We want to fix our country, help us do it.
That's fantastic. Conventionofstates.org.
Conventionofstates.com. And we are the answer to Washington. We, the citizens, are the answer to Washington. It's not Washington's the answer to us.